How many of you know what a nocturne is? At first glance, it bears a similarity to nocturnal, which it does. Taken from Merriam-Webster, it is borrowed from the French noun derivative of nocturne, meaning of the night, dating back to mid-19th century French from the Latin word nocturnus. In the context of music, it is a work that relates to the night, evoking its unique qualities, symbolism, and atmosphere. You might not recognize it by name, but some of you may know the song playing in the background. Perhaps you've heard it before. The most popular and well-known nocturnes today were written by a Polish man named Friedrich Chopin, of which he wrote 21, all for solo piano. Chopin wrote these nocturnes roughly between the years 1827 and 1846, under the backdrop of multiple revolutions across Europe, such as in Poland, France, and Belgium. But more importantly, and relevant to this particular video, Chopin's works are commonly placed under the Romantic period of classical music, dating roughly between the years 1830 and 1900. The artistic visions and ideals of the Romantic period are keenly represented within Chopin's nocturnes. Growing up playing piano, Chopin's works were some of the more enjoyable pieces I played, largely because of this reason. Their tempos were often on the slower side, with gentle melodies that felt rich and lyrical, coupled with refined usage of the sustain pedal. And while not all pieces were like this, most focused on lyricism rather than virtuosity. To put it simply, they were fun to play because they were nice to listen to. And I think this aspect is very interesting because of what nocturnes are trying to convey. There are many ways we can describe the night, with these differences stemming from the question, for what reasons do we wish to portray it? When we tell stories to children about nighttime, it is presented in two distinct ways. The night is dangerous and dark, with monsters lurking in the shadows, or the night is a time of rest, with the moon and stars lighting up the velvet skies. And this duality extends beyond just children's stories. A lot of movies, games, and artworks depict the night sky as serene, quiet, and beautiful. Darker and more dangerous depictions are also present, for example in horror media, but it is the former representation that, in my experience, is far more popular. Chopin's nocturnes are no different in this respect. His focus on clear and lyrical melodies paints sweet and melancholic pictures of a moonlit sky. The piano's sustain pedal sees liberal usage in these works, altering the tone color quite significantly. It allows for the melody to ring out more clearly without compromising its gentle texture, while simultaneously giving the left-hand accompaniment a similar sustained presence. Nocturnes didn't start with Chopin, though he did popularize them while injecting the genre with his own tonal complexities and idiosyncrasies. It is then quite fitting that the genre didn't end with him either. Numerous works of art and literature can be placed within this umbrella of works that convey the night. Van Gogh's Starry Night is one we're probably all familiar with. James Atlee's book Nocturne, A Journey in Search of Moonlight, has some of my favorite literary descriptions of the serene, humbling beauty of the night. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the anime Call of the Night depicts the night sky with gorgeous swathes of bright colors. The game Elden Ring Night Rain surprisingly has some of the most captivating night skies I've ever seen in gaming, rivaled only by Minecraft PvP texture pack skyboxes. But if we return to the meaning and implications of nocturnes as songs of the night, then there are a multitude of musical works that have carried on its names, aesthetics, and legacy. And this isn't confined to just classical music. The song you are hearing is called Nocturne Hotline, made for a gacha game called Path to Nowhere, which I frankly haven't played, But there's something about the mood of this song that fascinated me. Setting the name aside, we can see some of the hallmarks of Nocturnes that the song uses. The atmosphere it produces feels uniquely sentimental, dreamlike, distant, and out of reach. And I think it touches upon one of the more subjective aspects that characterizes Nocturnes: nostalgia. When I first listened to Nocturne Hotline, well, it reminded me of this. Now, as far as my own sentimentality for cyberpunk, I think we can disregard it. What I think is more important is how this vista fits in with the broader context of cyberpunk's world. In contrast to Night City's dazzling lights and microcosms of different cultures and people, we have its outskirts standing as an aftertrail of this city of dreams, endless piles of garbage forming the foundations of the land, obscured by the haze of pollution and foul odors, the remnants of a bygone era. Yet despite how dark and gloomy it is here, this is probably the furthest you'd ever get from the quiet dystopia building within Night City. And I think these bright spaces of mundane objects speaks to this longing for freedom and a return to what we hope were once better times. Even in Chopin's works, we can observe this theme of return. His nocturnes are often structured in the commonly used ternary form, a three-part form that begins with part A, followed by part B, then the return of part A. It has this idea of returning baked into its structure. It serves as a reminder of reminiscence. Back in 2019, a bunch of videos started popping up showing strangely familiar images with unsettling music, which coincided with the notoriety of the backrooms and liminal spaces. And these videos got quite a lot of attention, in part because I think people really connected with the mood and underlying implications of these images. Many of them show empty or abandoned places that used to be bustling with people, but now they exist only as a passing memory, the memories of a collective experience shared among a whole generation of people. It's this lack of people and emptiness that makes these images feel so unsettling. An arcade, shopping center, hotel, a city street. All of them hold a different atmosphere without people and the unmistakable presence of life. This place in cyberpunk with Nocturne Hotline playing feels like the byproducts of memory, a glimpse into a past that is slowly burning away. It's a reminder that people used to be here, and the decay that follows in their absence. We too are subject to forgetting. There's this song artist called Xeuphoria who makes a lot of instrumental piano music and some vocal songs. In a similar vein to Nocturne Hotline, Xeuphoria's works exist as a gentle backdrop to the night, but more as a subtle byproduct than the clear connections that Nocturne Hotline draws. However, what sets Xeuphoria's music apart is the unique atmosphere it evokes. Xeuphoria's brand and aesthetic is heavily intertwined with the soft hues of purple, pink, and blue, their music bathed in melancholy, hope, and contemplation, capturing those quiet moments away from the rush of diurnal life. Many of their accompanying album and song covers show vistas of pale blue and nebulous skies, scenes that are both gentle and peaceful. It's no coincidence then that many of the colors they use are common in the gentle depictions of the night sky. It seems natural that when we think of the night sky, we imagine stars, nebulas, and clear skies. But as James Attlee writes, much of the planet we inhabit no longer experiences night as it was once understood. Ever-increasing swathes of it are bathed in artificial light 24 hours a day and glitter like amber jewels when observed from the sky. For those of us who have grown up in these regions of eternal day, our experiences of the night sky largely follow Attlee's descriptions. In the absence of the stars above and the prospect of a society that may never see the true beauty of the night sky, we rely more than ever on art to fill in the gaps of our imaginations and capture its complexities. Yet as much as Xeuphoria's works depict a night sky that once was, it is the latter experience of cities and artificial lights that comes to mind whenever I listen to their music. As we've seen with Nocturne Hotline, depictions of the night in music don't always exist solely with a naturalist point of view. To me, it conjures up images of a city at night, its streets illuminated not by the sky, stars, or moon, but by the streetlights, headlights, and buildings. While you can definitely see this in a negative light, I don't think the music is made lesser by this difference in representation. The overall effect and mood of the music stays intact. The aspect that more than any contributes to the uniquely serene and nostalgic feeling that Xeuphoria's songs exude is resonance and reverb. It is a testament to the intrinsic properties of music that differentiates it from other artistic mediums. Music is one of those things that has existed within cultural memory for hundreds of years. And with the introduction of these lovely devices, chances are a lot of us listen to music on our daily commutes or while we're working, relaxing, or exercising. And it creates this hyper-reality where we each have this hand-created soundtrack that follows us around. More often than not, these playlists we make are tailored to fit in with a certain mood or atmosphere. But with the advent of technology, music no longer solely produces the atmosphere of a given place. We can listen to it whenever we want, and so now it amplifies the existing atmospheres of the spaces we reside in. The use of resonance adds to this by giving the music a stronger sense of being. It has a tangible place in our reality. It's almost as if someone's performing the song, with its tune echoing throughout the spaces we reside in. It creates this cognitive dissonance of a dreamlike song having a tangible presence and superimposing that dreaminess onto us. This quality of giving music a tangible presence reminds me a lot of diegetic sound. Mainly seen in film, it's a way of categorizing a sound or music that originates from within the world of the story. Maybe the music is coming from a radio or a band. But my favorite example of diegetic music is from the game Disco Elysium. As you step out into the cold streets of Martinez, the solemn cry of horns sing in the distance. You can almost feel the cold space that exists around it. The cold rain cascading down the rubble of buildings, the remnants of revolutions and the aftermath of war and resistance. It could be said that the horns here are just a part of the soundtrack, no different than any other game, but it certainly didn't feel that way while playing it. It felt almost real, that the horns were physically there, an unmistakable part of the identity of Martinez. It exists as an anthem to the city's affairs, the strikes of the union workers in the industrial complex, the apartment buildings bearing the remnants of war, the dead man hanging in the yard of a motel, a dice maker works away, hidden from the world, ghosts of the past rising from the waves, old wooden buildings weathered by sheets of rain. It's not just the reverb that produces this feeling of sorrow and longing. These feelings are intrinsically tied to the very essence of Martinez. Much of Disco Elysium takes place during the day, and so its relation to the night isn't as clear and concise. But there's something haunting about this city. Nothing really goes on in Martinez. It is said that all businesses started here are cursed to fail. All manner of government and philosophy has given up on improving this place. Without the union strike and the resulting lorries stuck here in a traffic jam, Martinez would exist as the carcass of a city, stuck in a lethargic spiral. Anyone who's ever walked through a city at night can attest to how jarring it can feel in comparison to the day. Here, that feeling never goes away. It is a city of eternal rest. Disco Elysium is a game steeped in memory, regrets, and a longing for the past. with veterans of war longing for their past glories, mothers, fathers, and workers hoping for better outcomes for themselves and their future generations, past regimes coming and going, both firm and fickle. But at its heart is our cop protagonist, who, in events unknown to us, must have drank himself into a spiral of amnesia, drowning his memories beneath an ocean of alcohol. You can really feel it in the opening sequence for the game.
There is nothing, only warm primordial blackness. Your conscious ferments in it.
There's this immense pain in his thoughts, a reluctance to even wake up to feel anything.
The limbed and headed machine of pain and undignified suffering is firing up again. It wants to walk the desert, hurting, longing, dancing to disco music.
What did he lose that was so vital to him that he couldn't live without it? What truth was so horrific that his only solution was to forget everything?
The song of death is sweet and endless. But what is this? Somewhere in the sore, bloated man meet around you.
What was it he wanted to forget? So when I hear these horns, they carry with them the sorrows of generations past, and the present people left to deal with the consequences of their misgivings. This feeling that something great once stood here, and that even in its grandeur and longevity, the world has moved on. And for our protagonist, he too is stuck in the past, clinging on to his once glorious life. But I think the most powerful aspect of the song is that it continues on. We always focus on the horns at the beginning. How can we not when they sound so haunting and personal? Yet as it goes on, it gives way to this steady rising of a different melody that begins to engulf the once solemn horns. And even as it returns, its echoes become a triumphant melody that cuts through the symphony of distant cries. But it all dies down, and we are once again left with the horns. I think it's very telling of the limbo that Martinez is stuck in. Even in its attempts at improvement, there is this constant return of conflict that shuts everything down.
The people of this archipelago tried to build something new, something different. The rest of the world didn't like it, so they came and ended it.
It's a reminder of war.
Capeside apartments. Tower blocks crowd one another. 4.46mm bullets still lodged in their war-torn stone walls. Hallways collapse from the mortar hits of a war that was lost long ago. Clotheslines go to waste in the rain. Radios play.
A feeling of stillness.
A traffic jam. Rain thrumming on the roofs, buried like a horrible secret. Inside, drivers feed it through the cracks. We know there will out of a sipping sense of nostalgia, source of shame. And one more door.
An expression of pain. The underlying theme of all the songs I've talked about is that they attempt to communicate a specific feeling present in an inanimate space. Throughout past and present, music has remained an effective communicative device for our emotions. We turn to it in order to impart its emotions into the surrounding area, objects, and landscape. It acts as a sort of bridge, conveying these emotions present in the otherwise sterile spaces we occupy. In movies and games, it has the power to accompany and enhance a scene or story. It is often the music that we remember and associate with an impactful moment. Simply hearing its tune snaps us back to that moment and tugs at our emotions. It holds everything dear to us, all the special feelings and important meanings we engraft onto it. And even should we lose its associations, it is held firmly in our hearts. And nothing encompasses this better than our experiences of the night. Few things across the human subconscious have such a universal dichotomy. Nighttime has largely been seen as a time of rest, but outside the comfort of light and shelter, it's a place of danger. And this sentiment has carried on into the 21st century. Even under the twinkling glow of city lights and passing cars, it can be hard to shake the uneasiness of walking around at night. Cities like New York and Shanghai boast a bustling nightlife with colourful cityscapes towering into the sky and reflected in the seas. Yet despite this, many of us still choose to reside in our homes in the hours of darkness. But to step out into the night is a potentially liberating feeling, to experience a side of the nocturnal hours that many people won't. It's this strange feeling that you're the only person here in a city usually full of chatter and sounds. Here it is at a standstill, nestled in that transition period between today and tomorrow, an intersection between night and day, moving through frozen time. And in this solitude, we are afforded the silence and space to think. Free from any expectations and obligations, we're able to just relax and take in our somber and peaceful surroundings. I think it is this freedom that has inspired artists across different time periods, mediums, cultures, and backgrounds to create varying works with their own special nuances and meanings, yet still following a clear through line of themes and inspirations linked in both sight and sound. Whether it's a gentle and restful sea of nebulas, a solemn and melancholic starlit sky, or an unsettling heart of darkness, each paints their own portrayals of the night. It really makes me wonder what went through the minds of each of these composers. What was it that they felt in order to make a work that is so uniquely theirs? And even given their differences in tone and interpretations, there is no question that they exist as songs of the night.